Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Courtney and I'm a full-time reseller on Poshmark and eBay. If you're not new, thanks for coming back. It means a lot to me. So I wanted to do kind of a recap of my first 6 months on Poshmark and give you some numbers as far as the breakdown and how I think I did and some of the things I learned. Also, this is the first time I'm going to try and use my editing software, so hopefully you'll see some things around here. So with that, if you saw in the title, I had just over $10,000 in sales in my first 6 months on Poshmark. And keep in mind, I was part-time for the first 4 months. Also, the first month, I didn't really do any sourcing. It was just kind of some stuff out of my closet, and I didn't really have that many sales. I think in the first month there was like 20 something sales. So it was definitely a rapid increase. I kind of sacrificed my personal life. I was working full-time and commuting about 3 hours per day. And so I would come home every night and every weekend day and try and get things photographed and listed and sourced and all of that kind of stuff. So the first 4 months was definitely taxing just as far as the amount I was trying to do. At the end of the year, I had approximately 1,400 total listings on Poshmark. It would have been about 1,600, except I removed about 200 with some old stale lighting and thought I could re-photograph some of it and thought I could maybe yard sale some of it as well that were just kind of bad buys. So with that, in the first 6 months, so I listed my first item on June 30th, my first few items on June 30th. My first sale was on July 1st. And so basically from July 1st through December 31st, I had 397 items that sold on Poshmark, and that came out to $10,265 in total sales revenue. My payout from Poshmark when removing the fees and any kind of shipping discounts was $8,086.36. So definitely not bad considering I really wasn't full-time until the last couple months. And even then, it just kind of takes time to build up a following and build up the knowledge. With that, my total profit, so the removing the cost of goods on the items that I did sell. Now keep in mind, I did purchase a lot that still haven't sold in that first 6 months, but my total profit of that was $6,654. My average sale price before cost of goods, before fees, all of that stuff was $25.85. My average payout per item from Poshmark was $20.37, which I don't think is too bad. I think I would like to obviously see that grow. But considering I did have some high ticket items and I definitely had a lot of items, especially in the first month or two that were, not very much money, I think that was pretty good for my first 6 months. Just to jump into a couple things around Poshmark that I feel like a lot of people have questions about. Posh Ambassador status. I really tried for the first few months to get that status, and not because I felt like it was going to do an increase massively in sales, but I did know, or at least I heard, that it would increase my followers. And I have heard some people say on YouTube that followers don't matter. I actually think it does. I think it's exposure to your items. And I think if you look at a lot of the big sellers, they have a lot of followers, which makes sense. So it could be time on site, time sharing, time following other people. There are definitely different strategies around getting followers, but I was really aiming to get to Posh Ambassador status, and I did right around that 3-month mark. I think I'm around 26,000 right now at about that 6-month mark, and I think that's pretty good. My community shares is only around 12,000. And my self shares, I try to do 1 share a day of my closet, but that's extraordinarily hard for me these days because it does take me an hour. I have right now about 1,100 active listings, and it takes time. I mean, I watch YouTube videos, and that's actually how I'm able to find or take the time and watch a lot of YouTube videos. Maybe if I just need some downtime and watching Netflix or something, I will do some community shares and self shares, but with that, I do prioritize my own closet, and then I try and do a few community shares each day along with a few follows each day. I know there's a lot of people with different strategies. I'm not going to really break down. I don't really have too much of a strategy around that, other than I would like to see my followers grow and I would like to stay engaged on the app. Parties, I don't particularly, I don't participate in them. If I happen to be sharing at the same time a party's going on, so be it, but I don't actively try to join in on parties. When I have tested that out and tried that out. It gets a lot of shares, it gets some follows, but it doesn't really generate any immediate sales during the party or shortly after the party. So I don't try to worry about it too much. I think it can be fun for people. For me, it's not really part of my goals each day. Yeah, so that's kind of my thoughts on those few things: the sharing, the parties, the followers, and so I hope to see it continue to grow. I hope to continue to participate. As far as one other topic that I think a lot of people are wondering about or maybe have encountered, and it's hard, is the open cases, when a case is open against you. And so I will say, in my first 6 months, I had 8 cases open against me. 3 of them were my fault. And that was all 3 items in the first few months, and it was when I didn't have a lighting kit. Now, if I can say one thing to invest in, and you could get one for about $50, maybe cheaper, is get lighting. So I think all 3 of those items, they were small holes that they disclosed. And I did, in the beginning, try to respond back to the open cases. But I do think lighting can help catch those flaws, whether it be a faint stain or a tear or something like that. So that is really minimized since I've had lighting. And I think I got lighting around the 2-month mark. The other 4, I don't feel were my fault. And I'll explain. So one of them was pretty early on, and I did use a stock photo, which I don't use anymore, but I did use a stock photo for 3 items that I had purchased from J. Crew. So I moved into a house a year ago, and you get these homeowner deals, and I got this thing in the mail that was $50 at J. Crew, and you didn't have to spend any, and there was no minimum. So I took that $50. I think I ended up spending close to like $58 with all the shipping and stuff. And I got 3 items, and they were all new with tags. And one of them sold, and it was a black, actually I think I wore it in a video, like a black long sleeve, cute, basic, but kind of had some flow to it. And I sold that to someone, but I had used 3 or 4 stock photos and no photos of my own. And so I didn't take a photo of the new with tags. And a case was open saying that it didn't have the new with tags, and it was wrinkled and it smelled. These literally came out of a J. Crew shipping bag and into a poly bag. And I think I even used the plastic bag that came from J. Crew, and they were wrinkled because they're shipped, and I didn't fold them neatly or snugly in a bag. Is snugly a word? But I definitely know there were tags, and if there's no photo of the tags, they can cut them off and claim there's no new tags. I think maybe it didn't fit the way she wanted. I know I've worn it, and because it happens to be my size, and it's a little short for my personal taste, and maybe she cut off the tags. I don't really, it was a back and forth. A few of these early ones that were back and forth, and lots of anger on both sides of someone, you're calling me a liar and I'm calling you a liar. And so the cases are not great. I currently don't even respond to cases unless I think I have a chance of winning. I don't want to upset anyone. I did attempt a couple cases to email Poshmark separately, but they weren't getting to those early enough. And so my strategy right now is I won't respond if it's something where I think they're going to win, because I don't want to upset a buyer. I would like more buyers on Poshmark, and if they return it in good condition, then I can just resell it. And the other 3 that I don't think were my fault, one was a blank NYC pair of jeans, like a dark denim jeans, and she claimed that they were fake. So authentication, I think they didn't fit. I don't know anyone out there who's faking or making making fake blank NYC jeans. I mean, they're a good brand, but they're not some high-end designer. And I just don't think they fit. And so she claimed that they were fake. She said that the tags inside weren't the same. Instead of going back and forth and saying brands change tags often, I just let Poshmark make the decision, and that was returned to me. There was also a pair of boots. This frustrated me. A pair of boots that were in European size. she bought them. And when I put them as a size 12, I think. And then when she purchased them, I was like, that doesn't see, they were wedge black, Eric Michael booties. And I thought they looked a little small for a 12. And so I sent her a message before I shipped them off and said, hey, I'm a little nervous about this European size conversion. I don't know if they're exactly a 12. And she said, oh, I went on to, what's the site that sells a lot of shoes? One of the sites, it carried this brand, and their conversion said it would be at 11 to 12. And so she looked that up and knew it. And I said, okay, I'll get them out today. I just wanted to make sure with you. She did ask if I accepted returns. I said Poshmark doesn't allow returns, but if they don't fit exactly how you want, you can always reposh them. Well, a case was open, and she claimed that they were a size 10. And instead of arguing or going back and forth, I just let them return it and moved on. And then there was one more, and I'm blanking on what it was. There was one more, and I don't think it was my fault, and I can't remember what it is, but we'll move on. So with that, I did win one case, and it was a woman who bought a Skia vintage jacket, and she showed photos of her wearing it. It was a size 8, I think. And then she tried on another brand of another outdoor wear jacket, and basically said it was way oversized. And I showed pictures of the size. I also included measurements, and I didn't respond to the case. Poshmark gave it to me in my favor, so released the funds. So with that, cases are going to happen. Right now, 8 in my first month, 1 that I won, 7 that I lost. If I expect about 1 return each month, it's part of doing business. So I haven't had any scammers or anything like that. I know there's some of that out there, but the few that I think were my fault because of lighting and not seeing the tears, I learned and I got lighting, and now I don't have that mistake happening as much anymore. Hopefully not again. So with that, I have out of my sales, the top 5 categories that I have sold. My top category of sales has been tops. That's actually something I source. My mom sources a lot of, so I don't have the breakdown of how many in each category I have available, but I do know that I source tops more than anything. So in that 397, 118 of those were tops. The second one was shoes, which is surprising because I feel like I have a hard time finding shoes. And I actually feel like I have a lot that haven't sold and are sitting up in my loft. So I've sold 58. I've sold 56 sweaters and 53 bags, which isn't surprising on that one because I've done quite a few ThredUp handbag boxes. And then there's a tie for 5th place, which is dresses and jackets. Each one I've sold 31. That just kind of shows the breakdown of what's selling for me. I know that some people do way better and their top seller is dresses, and some people have top sellers of jeans and whatnot. So that's just what what came up with my sales report, which if you haven't downloaded your sales report, I try to do it every couple months and see how things are translating from Poshmark's sales report versus my own spreadsheet. So the top 3 mistakes I think I made in my first 6 months. Number 1, listening to matter-of-fact resellers. So I jumped on YouTube pretty early on, and some would say, hey, you're new. Why are you sharing information? 2 things. I think you learn a lot in the beginning. And so hopefully I can share more of those mistakes and things I'm learning. But also because I feel like there are 2 extremes of resellers out there, whether on YouTube or Instagram. They're the ones that make statements like, you have to do this, or this is the only thing that will work, or you should never do this. Those very matter-of-fact statements. And although I watched a wide variety of people in the beginning because I was trying to learn, I definitely have learned that I have my people that I trust and that I trust their information. And I also think they're not matter of fact with their statements. They're saying, hey, this is what I've done. This is what I've learned. It could be different for you. But this is what's working for me, or this is what's not working for me. And it's never any absolute statements. I definitely don't watch a lot of people that I used to in the beginning because I learned through my own experience that some of the statements that they were making, that they said absolutely to, were not actually true for my business. So that's the number one mistake I made early on, was listening to people who were absolutely sure of themselves and the information they were sharing. I don't think there's any absolute aspect of reselling. I think your business is going to vary from other people's businesses. And if you want to learn from people on YouTube, for example, or Instagram, it doesn't mean you shouldn't be trying things for yourself, or that that's going to work the same for you. So I personally like the people who share their experiences, but also share that it might be different for you and that's what works for them. So the second mistake I made was not looking up comps. So it took me a few months to really understand even how to do it. And so I would go out and buy stuff. I remember I saw someone in a YouTube video and they said, I almost always buy new with tags. If it's new with tags, I'll buy it. So I just started picking up new with tags, not even caring about the brand. Needless to say, that didn't work for me. And that there is no 100%. So there could be a brand that sells extraordinarily well on all items. I think that probably would be rare, but there are some of those out there. And then there are, for the most part, a lot of brands who sell very high in certain, a dress or a jacket or a style of jacket, but then they have much lower comps on other items. So not looking at comps for the first few months definitely led to a lot of bad buys. I personally don't go style based. I have bought things based off of style and not worried about the brand, and I have not had much luck with that. I think there are people that do. They style their closet in a way. They have a following of people that like their style. I personally have not had much luck unless there is a brand that is desirable for people. So comps is huge. I still, to this day, and probably will always look up comps, unless I've sold that exact item or something almost exactly like it. Even then, comps can change. And I think the things that I've read about resellers sharing information on YouTube or Instagram, if it's new stuff, retail arbitrage, I don't think it's not something I would share with my social media crowd, because that could be duplicated or replicated from other people. A thrifted item is, you could say, well, Vince has gone downhill because more people are sharing it. There could be some truth to that, but it could just be, even without sharing it, that Vince is just selling more, maybe in different places, and it's just becoming less desirable and there's more on the market. So with that, comps is always going to be important. Styles and brands there's ebb and flow, right? And so I think that for me, I'm going to choose to look up comps pretty much all the time. And that just feels safest to me. And then my third mistake that I made was not cross-listing sooner. So December 15th, I started cross-listing to eBay. And it hasn't even been a full month, but I've definitely started seeing some sales. And with December being, my sales were going like this with Poshmark, and then December kind of went like this. And although that's to be expected on certain months, and you're not going to have a perfect line going up all the time, by adding eBay, it basically kept my December as growth, even though my Poshmark dipped a little bit. So I wish I had started cross-listing sooner. I think eBay is daunting for a lot of people because it's not as easy to start up. I have reached out to people and, again, watched a lot of videos, and I'm still asking a lot of questions, and I probably will be for a long time. But eBay is a beast, and I don't know what people who have been on eBay say or recommend. I just know my personal experience. I think in my first 15 days at the end of December, I managed to have $600 in sales. I think it was around 12 items, 11 items. And it was stuff that had been listed on Poshmark for quite some time. And it hadn't moved. So I'm really excited about cross-listing on eBay. I will definitely have more eBay content out there, but I know Poshmark is my first love, and it will still be a platform I continue to use. So my top 5 sales for the highest sale price that I had on Poshmark in those 6 months. The first one was a Burberry scarf. It sold for $150. I bought it at the bins, so it cost about $1. And I did pay $20. I think it was 20 or 25. I think it was 20 to get it authenticated. And that just gave me the reassurance that I wasn't selling a fake item. The second highest thing was a Free People leather bag that was really cute. It was actually my second month, and I was leaving a Goodwill because they were closing, and I spotted this and I felt it and it felt great, but I couldn't find the brand. And they're like, you know, making all the announcements like, we're closing, we're closing. And so I grabbed it, and it wasn't until after I got home that I realized, oh my gosh, this is a Free People leather bag. When I looked up comps, it sold for 140. And then I had a St. John jacket, knit jacket. It was yellow and black, and that sold for 125. I had, my dog is probably barking at some animals outside, so hopefully that doesn't bother you. I had an Aritzia Wilfred jacket. It looked like a bathrobe rug, like oversized green bath rug is what it kind of looked like. But I knew it was kind of funky and fun. That sold for 100. And then I also had some cowboy boots that sold for 100. I don't know how to pronounce the brand, Lucchese. They were really cute, funky. I think they were multicolored, and those sold for 100 as well. Lots of great sales, lots of sales between 50 and 100, and lots of sales that were only 10, 12 bucks. So hopefully that average is really what I'm focusing on. Sourcing options. If you haven't watched any of my videos, I'm a bins fan. I discovered the bins a couple months ago, and I think that's going to be one of my main sourcing options moving forward. I can't go that often. It is a 5-hour round trip for me, and I think it's worth it. I find some great stuff. It's fun because I go with my mom a lot of times. But that's probably my number one favorite sourcing option. You know, some people say they don't get the same stuff at their type of bins, or their bins aren't as big. I am fortunate to live near LA, where they have quite a few different locations of Goodwill outlets. And I have my favorites, and I have some that I still need to check out. But I think there is, looking up comps for me at the bins is what I do. I throw back, 4/5 of the stuff that I pick up originally. And I think it's luck. There's some luck involved. Are you there at the right time when someone throws something out before someone else snatches it up? I will say bins, I do not really worry too much about being the first one, where they've got the line of people waiting and everyone's like, some people are starting to pick and they're getting yelled at. I don't worry too much. A lot of my good finds have been in the bottom of a bin that's already picked over. The Burberry scarf, it was in a bin they were about to take back because it had already been looked over for quite some time. So the bins are my personal favorite, and I'm excited to see what we find in 2019. Goodwills. I live an hour away from two pretty big cities. One side is LA County, one side is Kern County, and both have great Goodwills. Honey Holes or Salvation Armies are not great where I'm at. I have not had much luck. Goodwills have always had friendly people. Their pricing in my area is very good and very reasonable. And so I'm a huge Goodwill fan, and I probably always will be. And then yard sales is the third place that I will probably continue to look out for. It's not really the season right now, but they're fun. The only downside with yard sales is sometimes I'm not looking up comps because there's someone, standing there, and that can get a little awkward. So, and then I've just got two more things to mention. My top 3 improvement requests or feature requests from Poshmark or something along those lines. Number 1 would be auto decline and auto accept offers. So starting eBay, I've learned there's a lot that eBay can do that Poshmark can't do. That's one of the reasons why Poshmark is easy to start up. It's simple. eBay, less easy to start up, in my opinion. Lots of complex things, but that also means lots of good things that you can do with it. And auto accepting or auto declining offers is hands down my favorite. I have seen so many resellers get so sad about lowball offers on Poshmark. They have an item listed for $100 and they get an offer for $18. And it breaks their heart because they want to sell items. They want to move items. At what point do you just bite the bullet and let it go for less than what you want versus holding out for the right buyer and possibly having it sit for 6 months? It is a tough gamble. And I don't know what's right for you. But it brings your heart down a little bit, and it brings I don't know. So I wish there's a feature on eBay that when you set your pricing on Buy It Now, at least, there's a section that you can check off and you can say auto accept offers above this and auto decline below this. I actually do the same price for both. And that way it is, it will accept any offer or decline anything less. So it's just kind of one and the same. I personally like it. It means I don't see offers that are low balls that come in, and it makes me definitely happier. I just wish Poshmark would do something like that. It would save time and energy, and it also varies on seller. I might not really want to accept anything less than 30%. You might be fine accepting 50% offers. So I think allowing the seller to dictate that would be really helpful. Solutions for power sellers. So I don't know what you determine a power seller to be, but I have 1,100 items, 1,200 items, somewhere around there, of available listings. And like I said earlier, sharing takes time, and I don't know if it's always something I can afford to do as far as the time is concerned. So I wish they had something for people, maybe an extra level above Posh Ambassador, where there were some perks that you could achieve that and then maintain it. And I don't know what it is. I wish they would take in consideration people who have a lot to list, a lot to share, and are actually bringing in a lot for Poshmark. I wish they would have maybe another tier above Posh Ambassador to aim for. The third improvement is stop letting buyers and sellers chat on cases. As I mentioned earlier, I started responding to people, and then they would say, "What, are you calling me a liar?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not calling you a liar. I'm just stating my side of the story, as Poshmark is kind of asking me to do." It hurts both sides' feelings, I think, or at least in my experience. I don't want to make someone upset. Actually, I wouldn't mind if they allowed some returns based off certain things, but allowing the buyer and seller to chat back and forth. I have seen some full-on conversations posted on Instagram, and I think it just creates a lot of sadness and not a great customer experience. So what I would prefer is Poshmark ask the buyer, state your claim, allow the seller to respond to Poshmark only, since they are the ones making determining the case, and then they determine which way they're going to let things go, or which side they're going to side with. That to me would provide a better experience for both the buyer and the seller. And I know eBay, I haven't experienced this yet, and I know I will at some point. I think they allow the back and forth as well, but just in my opinion, I'm not even responding to cases anymore if I think that the buyer will win. I would just like to save them some pain and just let me move on. So just what I'm doing. And then my top 3 goals for 2019 on Poshmark only is stay consistent. So consistent sharing, consistent listing, consistent engagement, whether it be community shares or following. Just stay consistent, because I think consistency on all these platforms is good. Networking. So I haven't done any networking events. I would love to. I'm not sure if I'm going to do Posh Fest this year. Depends on money coming in. So there are some Posh and Sips, I believe, down in LA. Again, that's a bit of a trek for me. So I do have some family, my sisters that live in LA. So I might try and do 1 or 2 of those this year. And I just want to meet more people. I have just absolutely loved getting to know some of you guys digitally, and I hope to continue that, hopefully in person as well. And then my last one is I would really like to keep Poshmark as kind of a side hustle for me. I don't want Poshmark to be my only thing. And the reason for that is when sales are slow, it is heartbreaking and you go into stress mode. So I want Poshmark to be one component of my business, but not the main component. I would like, obviously, for it to grow, and I plan on that, but I do really want to make sure that I am expanding to other platforms, doing more with YouTube, and just learning more and trying new things outside of clothing as well. So keep Poshmark, keep it going strong, but keep it as one component or a side hustle as opposed to my only hustle. So with that said, if you saw anything up here that looks like it showed you some numbers, then thumbs up to my editing software. If you didn't, apologies for not showing you anything. It's one more thing for me to learn, and it's what I'm trying to do. So with that said, if you aren't subscribed, please do hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, the thumbs up. It means the world to me. And stay tuned for some more videos in the near future.